Within GOLDesp, all functions can be accessed starting from the home screen. In order to write a discrepancy against a particular aircraft or piece of equipment, we begin by clicking on Work Recording and then clicking on Create Work Order. First, we must select the serial number of the item we would like to write the discrepancy against. Once we have that piece of information, we can select from the different work types available. We also have the option to choose a default work order. A default work order is a template that contains most of the information necessary in order to create a particular work order. Once we have our default work order loaded on the screen, we can key in a few more pieces of information that will help us get our work order created. Now that we have our work order open, any technician assigned to this particular work center can go out and begin working on this work order. Taking a look at the work order, there are a few things that are available. You can see if there are any notifications, such as pending install and remove transactions or any engineering orders that are currently issued against this particular aircraft. Within the steps, we have different default processes that can be added to a particular work order. These processes contain the steps that are necessary for a technician to complete their assigned task. We can link work orders that are related to this particular work order. We can view any install and remove transactions that have occurred within this work order. We can document any labor hours, and we can create part requests and view any part requests that have been created against this particular work order. If we have any child work orders created against this parent, we will see it, or if this is a child work order, we would see the parent. And there are different areas that we can view under the other sections. And the related links contain links that will take us to different areas of the aircraft itself. In the last updated section, we can see who created this work order and when they did it. And we can also see who the last person to make any changes was and when that change was created. And in the attachment sections, we can upload any pictures of damage or any reports associated with this particular work order. Now, if I wanted to find any open work orders against a particular aircraft or work center, I can simply go over and click on Work Order Desktop. This brings me to the Work Order Inquiry screen. From here, if I wanted to find the work order that I had just created, I can go ahead and select my open status and then come down and find work orders that have been created today. I'll go ahead and select today's date, click on search, and now I can see all the work orders that were created today. I can tell that this is the last work order because it ends in 77, and that would be the one that I just made. Another option I have when using the work order inquiry screen, if I wanted to find all the open work orders against a particular work center, I can simply remove the date and then come back up and use the search criteria for work center. If I wanted to find every work order against work center SP191, I can type that in, click on search, and there are my results. One of the benefits of having these GOLDesp Web 2.0 screens is the ability to save my search for later use. So in this instance, I will frequently try to find all the open work orders against a particular work center. So at this point, I'll click on Save and type in workload report. And I can click on Save. Anytime I return to my work order inquiry screen, I can click on Load and select from any of the available queries that I have saved. If I'm looking for work orders against a specific aircraft, I have a few different options. I can start by coming over to aircraft data and then clicking on the aircraft status board. From the aircraft status board, I can then select the aircraft that I would like to find and click on Search. The aircraft status board comes with hyperlinked sections. These hyperlinks relate to work orders. For example, this hyperlink will lead me to all the open work orders associated with this aircraft. If I click the hyperlink, it brings me back to the work order inquiry screen, but it goes ahead and fills out all my search criteria for me in order to bring up every open work order. I can also use the aircraft status board to go to the item maintenance screen. From here, I can use this link to find all the open work orders. Again, this sends me back to my work order inquiry screen with specific search criteria already filled out. And I can use my related links to show me all work orders. This also brings me back to the work order inquiry screen and runs a search based on every single work order ever created against this aircraft, regardless of status. From the work order maintenance screen, the information that each user is able to view or modify is determined by the different security roles associated with their individual account. Now, in the example we have on the screen, if I go to the steps, I can bring the steps up. We can see that they're in an unopened status. If I open the steps, you can see that at this point I can begin adding different work centers, and I can select from my available choices, click on Save. Because I have the right authorizations, I can make changes to this particular work step. But I am not able to modify the number of signatures required in order to satisfy this work step. In order to demonstrate this, I will add in a blank work step. And for this example, I will say that this work step is for quality assurance to witness torques. As I go down the fields, I will select the number of signatures required in order to satisfy this work step. I'll select 2 signatures that are required. So at this time, I'm able to modify the name field, and here I can say that the first signature should be the QA technician, and the second one should be the QA supervisor. Now, one of the really powerful tools within the work step is the ability to adjust the requirements. So as I click on the requirements, I'll select the drop down, and now I can also say that the signature for the QA tech requires someone with the E2345 certification. So I'll go ahead and populate that field, and then I'll say that the second signatures require someone with the 4564 certification. This brings Gold's e-certifications into play. I'll go ahead and save my step with the information I just put in. So by creating these signatures with a specific requirement, when I go in and select the first signature, if I try to sign off that first signature with a user account that does not have the proper certification with it, the system will go ahead and return an error. So I'll go ahead and put in the password, select the status to pass, and save my information. Now, because that particular user does not have the proper certification, my save error appears, e-certification validation failed, because I have an invalid user authorization. Now, if I attempt to do the same thing with a proper user account that does have the correct certification, we will see that the certification allows me to sign off this work step successfully. Now, the e-certification errors can come up, one, if the user does not have the certification, if a validity period has been set and the user happens to be expired. From the work order, it's very simple to remove parts that have been installed on the aircraft. I can simply come here and add a install or remove record. If I click on remove, I can select the part that I would like to remove. Because I have the part filled in, the system will show me the two serialized parts that I have installed on this particular aircraft. By selecting one, I can change its condition code, and I can remove it by clicking process. This part has now been removed from the structure of this aircraft. Because this part has been removed, I need a replacement, and to do this I can click on part request, and at this point I simply select the quantity I need and the reason why I'm removing it. Click on finish, and now we can go back to the work order and see that our part request shows up in an unauthorized status. Again, this is determined by the different business rules, but this means that someone has to come in now and authorize that part request. And if we look in the install and remove section, you can also see the remove part there, and here is the part number of the item that was removed and the serial number. Another feature available within the work order is the ability to assign the work order to a specific technician. To do this, I can scroll down to the bottom of the job data section and then select from any of the available users assigned to this work center. In this example, I choose myself, click on save, and now if I were to search for work orders, I can search by work orders that have been assigned to me. Now, once we're ready to close the work order, the information required to close a work order is generally determined by your business practices and the business rules associated in GOLDesp. In this example, I will go to the Reliability Sign-Off tab, and in this section, I will go ahead and select the appropriate work unit code. So there's the work unit code for the aircraft that I'm using. And then I can go ahead and choose from the drop-down menu for the system code. I'll go ahead and use airframe. Subsystem code, only one available. I will use general. Look at the symptom codes. I can use a nice feature here which allows me to filter the different codes that are available. And then I can go ahead and select the appropriate AJF code. I can keep going down. I'll come down to the file code, click on the drop down menu, and select from my vibrations. I can come down to the work done code, say we repaired it, and put my text in the work done field. I'll also say I repaired it. I can come down, and at this point I can select my corrected by. The number of sign-off authorizations required will be determined by your business rules. In this particular work order, I just need one signature. I'll put in my username and password. And if my authorizations are correct, I can click on save, and this work order will be closed. To find information regarding the organization's fleet of aircraft, users can click on the Aircraft Status Board. From the Aircraft Status Board, we can search for all aircraft associated with this organization. Prominently displayed at the top of the Aircraft Status Board, we can see a current serviceability percentage. This percentage is only as good as its current date timestamp. The screen can be set to auto refresh or can be refreshed manually. One of the first columns we can see are the color-coded aircraft icons. Each color represents a different status. In this example, green is a serviceable aircraft, blue is unavailable due to scheduled maintenance, white is fully mission capable, and red is unavailable due to maintenance. We can also see other icons. The task icons will display a brief synopsis of any tasks that are overdue in the warning period or due. You also have the QA check column, which will display any warnings if items are missing off of an aircraft or if they don't have certain tasks associated with them. All the other columns are for information only, except for items that contain a hyperlink. Items that contain a hyperlink, such as the open work order, open work package, will take the user out of the aircraft status board and send them to the appropriate inquiry screen. In this example, we clicked on open work orders, which takes us to the work order inquiry screen. From the aircraft status board, we can see the aircraft configuration. This first aircraft, MHS-03, is set up in an anti-surface warfare configuration. This one is set up for search and rescue. Now, the columns that are displayed now are not the only columns that are available. This screen is fully customizable by clicking on the drop-down arrow and going to the columns. Users are presented a list of columns that they can add or remove based on their needs. So for example, if I wanted to add the tail number, I can click on this box here and we can see that the tail number column has been added, and if I'd like to remove it, I can remove it this way. This screen is highly configurable. Users can move columns around to best suit their needs. If I wanted my location at the front of the screen, I can simply drag and drop it at the front of the screen. I can also group by different items, such as group the information by the serial. You can also sort the columns easily by clicking on them, and it will sort them either ascending or descending. From the aircraft status board, we can also click on the status summary tab, which gives us a breakdown of every status available and its percentage. So we can see that we have 18% fully mission capable, serviceable 45%, and then our different unserviceable statuses for a total of 100%. If we go back to our aircraft status board, we can make our way down to the bottom of the screen and click on Structure Viewer. From here, this brings up the physical structure of the aircraft, and we can see all the parts that are installed on this aircraft and how this physical structure is built. From the screen, we can also click on the icon. So if I click on the icon for serial number CH004, this brings us to the item maintenance screen. This is the main record for this particular aircraft. Now from this screen, we're able to adjust the readiness state. For example, this one is serviceable. I'd like to change it to full mission capable. And as you can see, as I change the readiness state, you'll notice that the date timestamp in the as of section also changes. So I'll change it to serviceable now. Click on save, and you can see that now it's a few seconds later. I can also change the secondary role and other information. But once again, the information that I'm able to change from this screen is determined by your business practices and your business rules. When I come over to the side, I can also come down to the related links section, and from here I can open up the task schedule link, which shows me any task associated with this aircraft. This one currently displays its flight hours, and here I can see life used. So this aircraft shows it has 5,673 flight hours. I can close this screen, and from the item maintenance screen, I'm also able to create work orders against this particular aircraft. Now I'll make my way back to the aircraft status board. One of the other useful features from the aircraft status board is the ability to click on the task icon. Now you can see here that we have 3 overdue tasks against this particular aircraft, MHS-04. So I will click on the icon, and this brings us to our maintenance planning screen. This is a screen that your maintenance planners would use to take care of any scheduled maintenance against this particular aircraft. In order to conduct scheduled maintenance, we use the maintenance planning screen by simply clicking on the particular task we'd like to complete. We can go down to the bottom and click on Create Work Package. We can quickly give it a description and click on Save. This is the work package. This is a container that holds the work orders that will be associated with this particular 14-day task. All I have to do now is just select the task, click Lock In, and now we can see that there is a work order generated to conduct a 14-day task against this particular aircraft. I can close the screen, and if I refresh this maintenance planning screen, we can see that this 14-day task is no longer available to be selected, and we can also see that a work package and a work order have been created against it. That still leaves these other 2 tasks in a planning phase. Once again, I can close out maintenance planning screen. The aircraft status board is used to display aircraft. If you would like similar functions in order to track other pieces of equipment, such as support equipment or other parts, we can visit the equipment status board. The equipment status board is located in Material, and we can go ahead and click on Equipment Status Board. So the Equipment Status Board is used to show other parts and equipment that are not aircraft in a similar manner as the Aircraft Status Board. In this example, I will search in segcode SP2. These are all the parts located in this particular segcode. Once again, we have color-coded icons to let us know what the status of the particular parts are. And in here, the green icons designates serviceable items, the red designates other than serviceable, and the gray INS are the parts that are installed on other pieces of equipment. So for example, if we look at this engine 123, if we go down towards the end of the columns, we can see that this engine is installed on top serial number H002. Now, very similar to the aircraft status board, we have our icons, we also have our hyperlinks. So any work orders that are written against these particular parts can be reached by clicking on the icon, and that will take you to the work order inquiry screen. And the same functionality that we had with our other status board, we can add and remove columns, we can move columns around. All those functions are still available within the equipment status board. You also have a status summary, which shows the total number of parts installed other than serviceable or serviceable, and its percentage. Now, if we would like to go into a particular part, we can simply click on the icon, and much like the item maintenance for the aircraft, we have an item maintenance for our parts. Now, some of the information is different, but the functionality is very much the same. And from here, we can see the different links that are available under the logbook section. And if we go down to our related links, we can go in and also see other links, and the structure viewer is also available for these particular parts. So if you had a component that was made up of various subcomponents, they would appear here. Now I can close my structure maintenance screen. Now that I'm back at the equipment status board, if I go into engine 123, I can click on the icon. And if I would like to know the life used against this particular engine, I can go ahead and click on related links and then click on the master lives link. And here I can see that this engine is tracked by engine starts and it has 785 engine starts against it. We can also use the equipment status board to see a history of where our component has been. For example, if we went into engine E004, I can go ahead and click on the OTS icon. And from the item maintenance screen, I can go down to the related links and click on the install and remove history. And this will show me where this part has been removed and installed. So here we see our history. We've only had 2 transactions against it, but we can go ahead and look and we have our dates. And as we've seen on other screens, all these columns, we have more columns available if we need them, and the information can be moved around as required. Also, from these screens, when you see the export to Excel icon, you can click that and this will send this particular information over to an Excel spreadsheet. When maintenance planners need to forecast upcoming scheduled maintenance, they can go to the maintenance planning screen. The maintenance planning screen provides many different ways of searching for upcoming maintenance. A simple search to conduct is to go down and make sure the include due overdue checkbox is checked, and then select Horizon Next Due. We can then click on Search, and this presents any items that are currently due, overdue, and if they are not due or overdue, it shows every scheduled task that is upcoming and when its next due date is. Now, a different option to conduct a search is to go down and select Horizon Duration. Now, in the duration, we can select a profile, and by using this Horizon Duration, we can say that within the next 30 days, we plan on flying 60 flight hours and having 70 landings against every item that tracks these particular intervals. So if we then go to the top and click on Search, this once again shows everything that is due and overdue, but it narrows down our results by showing us things that would come up once they hit those markers that we designated in the Horizon Duration. A third option that we have is to sort by using the Horizon Date Range. So by using this, I can go ahead and check the Use DAU profile, which is the daily average usage. So here I can say my period is going to be 1 month again. Now by selecting the period and saying that my daily average usage is expected to be 2.4 flight hours per day, the system will calculate if an aircraft flies 2.4 hours a day for a period of 1 month, which scheduled tasks would come due. So now I can come up to the top, click on Search, and now it runs the calculations and brings back the search results based on our criteria. The benefit of using either the Horizon Duration or Horizon Date Range is that because we're giving it certain parameters, even based on flight hours, it can calculate a projected due date of when it will reach these particular milestones. These projections become very useful when planning for upcoming deployments or when budgeting for future maintenance costs. Once the maintenance planner is ready to issue out this inspection, they can come down to the bottom of the screen, select the checkbox for the particular task that they want, and then click on Create Work Package. Once they name their work package, they can come down to the bottom, click on Save. At this point, they can check the box for the task, click Lock In, and the system generates a work order. We can see that this work order is in an unopened status. We can then check the box, scroll down, and click Open Work Order. From here, we can select the maintenance type, scheduled inspection, and then select the readiness date, unavailable scheduled maintenance, click on Finish, and that task is ready to be worked on. Once we close the screen, we can go back to Maintenance Planning screen, click on Refresh. If we scroll down, we can see that our 14-day is no longer available to be selected, and it has a work package and a work order against it. Now, when you create a work package, any task against a specific serial number can be added into that work package. You cannot combine tasks that belong to different aircraft under one work package. Now, as we've seen in other screens, any query that we create in maintenance planning can be saved for future use. So here we can name this query 2.4 flight hour projection, save it, and whenever the maintenance planner wants to load a projection for 2.4 flight hours, they can select it from their available queries. When dealing with items that have a shelf life, GOLDesp treats those items as any other task by using maintenance planning. So in this example, I have a part called test CAD, and if I set my parameters to include items that are due and overdue and the horizon next due, I can then click on search, and we can see that our shelf life appears, and this item is actually overdue by 4 days, and these items still have 728 days remaining on their shelf life. One area where Gold does make a distinction with a shelf life item is in a screen called the item work. To get there, we go to Material and then click on Item Workbench. In an environment where GOLDesp is used to conduct maintenance and supply, items with a shelf life can also be found from the item inquiry screen. So here I will conduct a search for test CAD, and here we will see that while all these items are available, the one CAD that was overdue shows up with an E available, designating it as an expired CAD. Now this item, in an instance where there's supply and maintenance working together, will not allow this part to be reserved or issued.